When your body is stressed, you guys know that you have two different modes that you can be in. You can be in fight or flight mode or rest and digest mode. If you're extremely stressed all day long, your body actually has a response. You feel your heart rate get up, maybe you sweat. Well, that might be stress at like a level 8 or 9. What happens when you're dealing with life stress, emotional stress, relationship stress, financial, job, etc., is that your body is sitting at a low level of fight or flight where you're kind of at that 5 or 6 all day. By the end of the workday or by the end of whatever you're doing, you almost feel like you've been jogging. Like that's kind of how it feels for me. This is the physical manifestation of emotional, mental stress. And so what we need to do when we get into the gym is not push our bodies to that 8 and 9 because we've already been in 5 and 6 all day long. Here's a couple of kinds of exercise that are totally appropriate when you're stressed. And then some ways to modify things to make sure that when you're doing them, you're not pushing too hard, okay? So I actually think weightlifting is totally fine when you're stressed. But what I just mentioned about hitting that high adrenaline place, we don't want to have that scrunched face when we're lifting. We don't want to have a lot of grunting when we're lifting. But taking yourself down to, let's just say 50 to 70% of what you feel like you're capable of, because this is not the time to be looking for PRs. This is the time to build up muscle or maintain muscle. You don't want to be breaking down and you don't want to be pushing your adrenaline. You have to check your ego at the door of the gym. You have to know yourself. You have to stand up for yourself. We know that exercise is a stressor to the system and we know that it's a positive stressor. But what happens when you're adding a positive stressor on top of a lot of other negative stressors? It's not going to be a positive anymore. Guess what else that leads to besides more stress? Injury. This is when we get injured the most, is when we're just under too much physical stress for what we're trying to do. The point of the type of exercise that you want to do when you're dealing with stress is to get the blood flowing, to do work that is anabolic, which is building up. You don't want to be doing work that is catabolic, which is breaking down. Things that are catabolic are going to be anything that's long distance, endurance type of cardio. And that's a really tough thing for a lot of runners to hear, that I don't want you to be doing endurance athletics. It's just not the time for it. There's a season for everything. It doesn't mean you can never do it again. Something you've always done and been okay with may not be the thing that you're okay with right now. We always want to isolate the thing that we want to do and pretend like it's in a bubble and not affected by the other things that we do. It's simply not true. Here's some other stuff that we can be doing. You guys, walking is always a good thing to do. You all knew I was going to say that, right? Yoga and Pilates are going to be totally fine if you're dealing with stress. For the most part, you're going to have to meter that a bit yourself. I think swimming is excellent. I find that swimming is a time when we are forced to regulate our breath. We're forced to almost only focus on our breath. If you can find a saltwater pool, that's amazing. Isometric types of exercises when it comes to strength. So like a wall sit, things that you're doing holds on, planks, balance exercises on a ball, things where you are able to work your muscles without pushing your heart to start just grinding that heart rate. So the types of things that I don't want to see you guys doing, high intensity interval training, which I think is great when you're not in a high stress situation. That trains your body to be able to handle stress and come back down, handle stress and come back down. So it's a great type of training, but not when you're under a lot of stress otherwise, as well as metabolic conditioning like at a CrossFit gym. You have to remember, if you're extremely stressed all day long, that you've been in that chronic state. So to just now go to the gym, for example, and push yourself high and then come back, push yourself. Look, if you feel great doing it, you're not exhausted afterwards, you're not feeling like, you had your butt handed to you in the workout. If you feel energized after it, that's different. You have to judge your own situation. And remember, this is not for all the time. Just because it's not the best when you're extremely stressed doesn't mean it's a great way, it's not a great way to exercise otherwise.